7:34 in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, we do some crazy switches on this show. Well, we switch from politics and talking about tribal politics and so on, to music and the music industry and copyright and all of that, because the Copyright Music Organization of Trinidad and Tobago is hosting a 9-member delegation of the International Confederation of Authors and Composer Societies and member organizations. The visit is part of CISAC's global outreach to member organizations to focus on issues of fair value for music, compliance, and education globally. We have two guests with us. There's going to be some dialogue on these issues tomorrow and Thursday. We have with us the CEO of COTT Trinidad, Josh Rudder, closer to me. And we also have from Paris, France, based in France, Olivier Hinnewinkel. He is the Director General of CISAC. A very good morning to you. Good to have you here on the program. So, Josh Rudder, this international music delegation, what are they here for, basically?
Okay, they're here, the delegation is here and headed by Olivier, to address, firstly, a number of challenges that we face within the Caribbean region. One of compliance, intellectual property challenges. As you know, there is a focus on us being placed on Trinidad and Tobago, that is being placed on the USTR watch list report out of the US government. The focus is really to engage key stakeholders from the Ministry of Legal Affairs, Trade, because COTT being a global organization, we distribute royalties not just to local members, to international organizations. And CISAC is the governing body that regulates how we as societies operate. So the purpose of the visit is to engage the key stakeholders, meet with the users, cable operators, broadcasters, to find some solutions and ways to address some of the challenges we face within the region and Trinidad and Tobago and the region, because we have regional delegation coming in as well. And so that's the first day, which is tomorrow. Yeah. And the next day is the focus on the creators, where we'll be having a creator symposium at UTT campus, Theatre 1 at 1:30, where we have creators from local creators coming in, but we also have Angela Hunt, who is a Trinidad parent of Trinidad parentage, who is actually the co-writer of Empire State of Mind, sung by Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. So she'll be here joining the delegation. So it's really a packed 2 days to focus on advocacy as well as the education and awareness.
We'll probably want to identify what are some of the key challenges from that you hope to have addressed. But Mr. Hinnewinkel, before we even get to that, what are you hoping to bring to the discussion, to the dialogue? Because I'm sure you would have gotten advance information. What are the major challenges? What are the major issues that we face here in this jurisdiction of Trinidad and Tobago or the wider Caribbean? What are you hoping to bring together with other members of your delegation to the dialogue?
We're going to bring expertise, experience, as CISAC is the only worldwide organization that promotes the values of collective management, and that is what Josh has just been referring to. What is behind this? What is behind this is to protect creators, creators worldwide. CISAC is not only about music, it's also about other areas of activity such as audiovisual, visual arts, painting, sculpture, etc. But here it is about music. What are we about? Serving creators worldwide. Why? When you're an employee, you go to work. The company pays you a salary. You are in a steady rhythm. You take vacation, you might be sick, you call in sick, you are protected to some extent. When you compose music, none of this exists. So you need to be able to refer to an entity, to somebody who is protecting your interests in accordance with law, international law, and good practice. Yeah. This is what COTT is doing here. So we are here to bring this worldwide expertise and experience in order to make sure that the politicians, and we just had a gentleman here that represents what the political movements are here in Trinidad and Tobago, but the politicians understand that they need to help by ensuring a proper law and the implementation of the law, which in turn means creators being paid properly.
But before you continue,
yes,
isn't that in itself the greatest challenge? Implementation. It's all well and good to have the laws on the books that would have been passed and so on. And I don't know what your experience would be in other jurisdictions, because certainly it appears that the major challenge here in Trinidad and Tobago is enforcement of those rules and regulations and laws in Trinidad and Tobago.
Why is it a challenge?
Good question. Josh Rudder, maybe you might have the answer.
If I may.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be an issue. Copyright is not a tax. It's a right. Creators have the right to be paid for the music that they compose. There shouldn't be any discussion here. It's a human right. If you're not enforcing this, you are against human right. So what I'm trying to say here is that a good law and the implementation of the law are a process which also includes business. And the second day of this international conference will be to engage with our partners, the users, those that make a usage of this music and make money with it. You know, just imagine a disco without music. How fascinating
Something
is that?
might be very good with some of the rubbish that is peddled these days as music.
Might very well be. And one of the reasons why you might have some of the rubbish is that some creators can't make a living anymore of this. They can't make a living. You know, many creators, many composers have a second job. What we are trying to ensure here is that they get a fair value for their work. And what I'm trying to say here is that in this very difficult environment, in this very challenging environment, COTT, with its good governance, being a member of CISAC, and with the influence that we can bring, has to make sure that we address this agenda in order to protect a certain number of things. The well-being of the creators, cultural industry in Trinidad and Tobago. What if this fades away? How do you look? And try to remove you from the 301 list. That would be a challenge as well.
Well, that's another thing. How much of an issue is that, to be on some grey list or whatever? I mean, is that something that could hamper the work of the industry?
It is, because it is a trade issue, and again, because we trade internationally, and COTT does that through the revenue and royalties that we distribute. If that is being hampered, then this is the reason why we've reached that list. I can tell you that a number of local bodies and chamber of commission, they're asking a lot of questions and want to find resolve, and raise it to another level of addressing that particular concern and having it resolved. And in order for that to be resolved, it means what we're doing right now, the engaging of the key stakeholders to understand what that means. Being on the list is one thing, but how does that affect, one, the economy? Let's look locally first. If users are not complying, then it will mean less royalty earnings for the creative sector. And as Olivier indicated, if this is the means in which they can gain income, then we have, as a body, need to address that. So that being on that list is one thing, but we have to address the relational part of it too. And we have, as you can see, a huge delegation coming in.
Yeah, I was looking at the list.
Right.
Santiago Schuster Vergara, the Director for Latin America and Caribbean Affairs, CISAC. You've got Elizabeth Rudder, Relationship Manager, ASAP USA, someone from Jamaica, Lydia Rose, North America and the Caribbean, Dwayne Ector. So you have a number of key people coming in. But Stetson Wilshire, Red Plastic Bag, of course, from Barbados. But the thing is that you're talking about the key stakeholders. You're talking about government agencies and enforcement and so on. What about your own members, some of whom have almost thrown up their hands in the end, given up on the fight against piracy by giving their CDs and DVDs to pirates to help promote their stuff because of the lawless nature of the industry?
Yeah, that of course is a challenge, and I know Olivier, coming from Ukraine and some areas that have even greater challenges, could probably address that. But part of our drive is to speak to the users of music. But the other part is educating our members, and this is the creators, because it is important for us to ensure that they take what they do to another level, and in doing and taking it to that other level means being guided as to what would be the correct thing to do, as well as we have to partner with them and of course educate even the police and the protective services, because copyright not being very clear and obscure, it poses a challenge in our efforts too, because we can, and we have conducted exercises down to this year we have, but the challenge we face is we have to educate the enforcers as to how they can enforce the law, because it exists. They can.
True, but Mr. Hinnewinkel, what do you do if it is that you're saying that it's a human right, and people are saying, well, the wider population says they have no respect for copyright. As far as they are concerned, however I can get that product, whether it's a pirated DVD or even if the entertainer is giving it to me because he knows that he's not getting a fair chance on the airwaves or whatever it is an environment also with the lack of enforcement that perpetuates that idea of lawlessness, and I can get your created work for next to nothing and you get nothing from it.
Yeah. Studies that we have conducted worldwide tend to show that actually the guy in the street wants to respect the law.
He does?
He does. He does. Once he understands, and that's education, once he understands the challenges, once he understands what it means not to pay, he understands as well that it jeopardizes what he likes, which is music, the diversity and the richness of music. Now, I'm not against accessing music for free. That is not a problem at all. As long as those that give the music to me as a user pay the rights, because they make money. They make money through advertising. You go to Google, you go to YouTube, there is money, there is billions made. You know, the numbers that are, that are being shown are quite significant. And what we are simply saying is, you use music to attract users. Great. You make money out of this. We want a fair share to be paid to these composers and creators. That is all what it is about.
Yeah.
It's not about being against accessing music for free. It's about accessing music for free, but ensuring that behind it, the business mechanisms allow the payment of the rights the composer is entitled to. Let me tell you how the business has changed in the last 10 years, if I may.
Sure.
Just in 2 seconds.
Sure.
10 years ago.
The 2 seconds are up, by the way, but go ahead.
All right, 2 French seconds, the last minutes. 10 years ago, somebody who would sell a million times a song would make good money and would certainly be awarded a platinum or a gold record. Today, somebody whose song is downloaded over 1 million times can invite his family for a pizza. It's about $30.
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about. So the business has changed. Many creators are using these digital platforms in order to promote themselves. This is all fantastic. Many of these composers, many of these songwriters, many of these performers are willing to give it out for free as long as the right behind it is being respected and is being paid. And when we refer to the users, we refer to the professionals that are using the music or that are using arts in general for a business development, for a business case in which they have to take into account copyright. Enforcement is something that we have to confront the politicians and the governments with, because we have to make sure that they understand what their responsibilities are. At the same time, COTT is negotiating with the users. It's business.
And just in that sense, can you give us some examples, maybe specific jurisdictions or just generally, of advocacy, of the work of CISAC, where you've been able to change the environment, where you've been able to at least make either the lawmakers, the enforcers, those aware of the importance of respecting copyright?
Yeah. We're doing this every day. We're doing this every day because we are present in almost all the countries in the world. CISAC is the only worldwide organization in this area of activity. But
are you enjoying success? Are you making a difference?
We are. I'm just coming back from Ukraine. I was in Asia. The medium to long term is to make sure that the law is in adequation with the current business environment, and therefore we help the lawmakers, the the IP departments, the ministers. We help them understand from our perspective what is needed or required in order to have a proper law. With regards to the implementation of the law, there are two things that we need to do. It's education, as Josh said. So we need to educate even you know, the police and those that have to enforce the law. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that our ecosystem is an ecosystem where everybody benefits from it, meaning the businesses, the users, the consumers, and the composers. So we have some successes, but it's a daily fight. It's a daily fight all over the world.
Indeed it is. Josh Rudder, at the start of our discussion, I was suggesting maybe if you could identify what would be the major challenge. What are some of the major issues that you would like to see addressed, that you would like to see some progress following this two-day event, this dialogue, this advocacy, this representation, all of that? What would you like to see first and foremost, or maybe more than one, that would be advanced via this couple of days?
Okay. Some of the things that I could clearly identify would be, one, we would want to see a greater, not just awareness by the music users, but greater from understanding the role of COTT and CISAC. We would like to see greater compliance, respect for the rights owners, because we are speaking of the growth of the creative sector in Trinidad and Tobago. We want to foster that understanding from the role that we play. That would be one. We would want to address the challenges of a number of organizations operating in the same space, because that is currently causing a lot of confusion, collecting on the same rights. That is something that we have to speak to as well, which we are in dialogue with the Ministry of Legal Affairs, but it's still a major issue, and we're going to continue to see that as an issue. To address that, we would want to see, and with the cooperation of CISAC, a clear look at our copyright laws and working with the government to see where we can probably put a regulatory framework to address whether there are issues in terms of how societies operate within Trinidad and Tobago and within the region. And of course, most importantly, we would like to see our members gain more income and really benefit from earnings from their creative works. That's really what we want to see.
And at the end of the day, Mr. Hinnewinkel, I think that's what everybody wants. You want to see people get value for money for their creative work. But you mentioned you know, the way the world is now with the internet, with the World Wide Web and so on, everything is on the internet. Has it become an infinitely more difficult environment to regulate, to educate the population, to know that whatever you're downloading and so on is something that someone has created, and they need to have some sort of compensation for it, because of the nature of the internet? Does it make it very difficult for CISAC to do its job?
It is more difficult. It is more difficult because the digital environment is more volatile. There is a it's not lawlessness, but it is an environment where the product itself has become digitalized and therefore doesn't exist. Yeah. You know, you go to a store and you want to get milk. You go to the store, you get the bottle of milk. Now what do? You just get out, you say, okay, thank you, or do you pay?
Yeah.
You pay. You don't even think about it 1 second, because you know that it would be a theft. It would be against the law to take the milk and just walk into the street. People don't realize that you can access music for free. There is absolutely no problem with this. There are many cloud services that propose these services. And what we are saying is that we want to make sure that those that make a living of this pay the creators properly. So it is as if you could get the bottle of milk and not have to pay for it, but those that actually promote this have to pay for it. And at the end of the day, all it is about is a fair remuneration, as you said, for the creators. And you used the word very, very accurately. It's a work. And guess what? every work deserves to be paid for.
Indeed, and as you talk about the commodity, it's almost a mental shift that has to take place about recognizing that it's a product and a commodity. But time has just about run out on us on this segment. But let's hope for a very productive dialogue that will take place over the next couple of days, that Mr. Hinnewinkel and others will be able to persuade all of those key stakeholders to recognize the value of intellectual property and recognize copyright, so people who would have created these works and selling their stuff to the pirates to try to make a dollar because they're not making it the legal way. But thanks very much for coming in, Josh Rudder and Olivier Hinnewinkel. We certainly hope for a very interesting dialogue over the next couple of days.